Hey guys, this is Kevin from JazTime.com. JazTime.com is an online store that buys, sells, and trades authentic luxury watches. We make these videos so our customers can easily choose the best watch for themselves in the comfort of their home. We offer the lowest prices anywhere online. If you want to know the price, simply click on the links in the description below. And if you enjoy our videos, we would greatly appreciate if you would buy a watch from JazTime.com once in a while. Alright, so let's go ahead and start our review. Today, we're going to be doing a comparison between the three divers watches that Rolex has, the Submariner, Sea Dweller, and Deepsea. They're all different levels of diving watches, one more professional than the other as we go into the specs later in the video. But overall, the format is still going to be the same. We're going to be doing the dial, bezel, case, crown, bracelet, clasp, and we'll always talk about the movement towards the end of the video. So in my hand here, this is the basic of Rolex's diving watches. This is the Submariner, reference number 116610. The newly released Sea Dweller comes in next, being the sort of in between the Submariner and the Deepsea. This is the reference number 126600. And then finally, the biggest diver of them all, the Rolex Deepsea, specifically the version I have here is the James Cameron edition version, which is the 116660. Unfortunately, that line was actually discontinued and newly updated on a newer reference number 126660. So basically same number, just replace that additional 1 with a 2 and you'll get the newer style models, but we're going to go ahead and continue with the older style model. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump right into the dials. So the Submariner, we have the standard black sports dial, as you can see on the Sea Dweller as well. For the James Cameron, we have this gradient from the blue to the black, which is like I said, a special edition version that's to commemorate the Deepsea challenge where James Cameron took his diving submarine into the Mariana Trench. The Sea Dweller, similar, just black style dial, but it's actually a special dial as well, as we have the Sea Dweller name at the 6 o'clock position in red, and that's to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the Sea Dweller, where the original vintage style Sea Dwellers actually have the name in the red coloring. And the Submariner is just the absolute baseline, the basic of the basic. One thing I'd like to mention is that the Submariner and the Deepsea, they both come in other style dials. Of course, for the Submariner, we have what's called the Hulk, where it has a green ceramic bezel and a green dial. The James Cameron Deepsea comes in just the same style dial as the Submariner, where it's just a simple black dial with the same hour markers and such. One thing I would like to mention is that at the 3 o'clock position, we actually have the date windows on all three watches. The date apertures on all three watches. However, the Submariner has the date Cyclops lens on top of it for magnification and easier viewing. This previous models of the Sea Dweller actually did not have the Cyclops lens. Only on this newer version of it, which is the 126600, it has a Cyclops lens on top of that date. And the Deepsea does not have a Cyclops crystal on it, mainly because the crystal itself is actually thicker than the Submariner and the Sea Dweller crystals, being at a 5.5 millimeter thickness, the Submariner being about half of that. Okay, moving on to the bezel now. They all have similar style bezels, which is a unidirectional black Cerachrome bezel, Cerachrome being Rolex's fancy term of saying ceramic bezels. So black ceramic bezel, the beautiful shine to it, as you can see, it almost looks like it's a high polished bezel. We have the paradox at the 12 o'clock position to let you know where the starting point is. As these are all diving watches, the reasoning for a unidirectional bezel is to track elapsed time underwater, such as to track your oxygen tank levels. You know, if you have 10 minutes of oxygen, you can set it to that 10 minutes, but you also won't be able to hit that bezel in the other direction and accidentally give yourself the wrong timing. But one thing to mention about the bezels is that the Sea Dweller and the Deepsea have more similarities in the bezel. As you can see, every single indency from the 12 o'clock position and around are all marked, whereas the Submariner only has up to the 15-minute marker. As you can see, from 12 o'clock position to that 3 o'clock position, only to the 15-minute marker where it has the indices labeled. Besides that, it all has the Arabic numerals and the indices, the larger, thicker indices all around. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the casing now. So the case size of each watch, the Submariner is a 40mm size case, Sea Roller is a 43, and the Deepsea is a 44mm size case. Of course, this Deepsea looks a little bit larger than the rest by a lot more. It doesn't seem like 1mm would make so much of a difference between the 1mm to the 43mm, but actually the thickness of each watch is all different. So let me actually go ahead and show you a side-by-side comparison of each one. So for the Submariner, we have a 12.58 millimeters of thickness. So will fit under your suit cuffs, dress cuffs very nicely. The Sea Roller comes in to the side, you can see, obviously much larger, at a 15.22 millimeters thickness. And then from the Submariner to the Deepsea, look at that, 17.7 millimeters thickness, and that is attributed to the 5mm thick crystal. Because of that, it almost looks like it's two Submariners stacked on top of each other if you look at them from the side by side. And then from the Sea Roller to the Deepsea, you can still see still quite large when going from the Sea Roller to the Deepsea. Like I said, this Sea Roller is 15.22 millimeters of thickness, and its Deepsea is 17.7 millimeters of thickness. So about 2.5 millimeters extra thickness. One thing I want to mention though is you can see these little circular indicators on the side of the bezel, on the side not of the bezel, but on the casing of the watch, on the high polish, and that's actually important if you're a professional diver. As you can see, the Submariner does not have that little circular mark on the side of it. What that is actually called a helium escape valve. The helium escape valve. So basically, when divers go deep underwater and they need to depressurize as they come up, gases, specifically helium gases, can actually come into the watch itself and pop the crystal, not break the crystal, but actually pops the crystal out from the front of the face. This helium escape valve is spring loaded, so once it gets to a certain pressure, it actually releases that helium gas out, so it keeps the watch nice and safe as divers come up from depressurization. So the Submariner doesn't have that. Okay. Now let's move on to the crown functions of the watch. So the crown functions are fairly simple. I'll go ahead and just show you what the Submariner. The crown functions are the same for the Sea Roller and the Deepsea, which is unscrewing counterclockwise. It is a triple waterproofness system. At this standard position, you can wind the watch 15 to 20 times is all you need to get the watch started once more from a dead stop. A simple tug of the crown. Oops. Apologize here. Have to move the hand around a little bit. There we are. You can adjust the date instantaneously as shown by going clockwise. And that's the same thing for the other two watches as well. Pulling the crown out to the final position will stop the seconds hand or the hack movement, allowing for precise time settings such as to an atomic clock online. You can set the time down to the exact seconds, and of course you can move the hands bidirectionally as shown. Pressing the crown back in will start the seconds hand once more, and always make sure to screw the crown nice and tight in against the case, as you want to keep your diving watches nice and water resistant. So the water resistance of each watch, as I said, it gets more professional as we go on. So the Submariner, the baseline, you're looking at a water resistance of 300 meters or 1,000 feet. The Sea Rollers, you're looking at water resistance of 1,220 meters or 4,000 feet. And then the Deepsea, well, the Deepsea is 3,900 meters or 12,800 feet. Most of you probably won't be going anywhere near that amount down into the ocean. As like I said, this is the James Cameron edition was to commemorate James Cameron from going into one of the deepest points of the ocean, which was in the Mariana Trench. So most of you won't be going down that far, but this is sort of screams kind of luxury. Like, I can go down there if I want to, but I won't. So 12,800 feet compared to that 1,000 feet, over almost 12, or already 12 times more, and almost 13 times more. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the bracelets. So for the bracelets of the watch, they're actually all the same style bracelet, which is just the Oyster style bracelet. As you can see, nicely satin finished throughout, made out of 904 steel, which is an in-house made Rolex steel that has additional corrosion resistance and a nicer shine to it. So I'll show you the deep sea bracelet. And yes, the bracelets are actually the same size. Moving on to the clasp now. They all have the same style clasp in terms of the clasp itself. So the Submariner that I currently still have in my hand here is the safety folding Oyster lock. Now this is the same for all three. There is one tiny difference between the three, which I will show you. So the first one, this is the baseline Submariner safety folding, just opens up as so. That's the safety. That's the folding Oyster, and we have the beautiful Rolex clasp blades with high polish with the Rolex logo embossed on there. But the difference lies between the actual functions of the functions of the clasp in terms of adjusting the size of it. So Rolex did this neat thing called the glide lock extension link. So basically behind the clasp, you can see these little riveted edges that actually are 2mm increments for a total incremental amount of 20 millimeters. You can adjust the bracelet forward or inward, and that's to help, as I said, divers. This is a diver's watch that help divers when they put on their wetsuit. You got that a little bit extra millimeters coming in, millimeters around your wrist. So you want to be able to adjust on the fly, and that's how the Submariner adjusts. Is just simply opening up, pulling it out 45-degree angle, and snapping it in as so. For the sea dolars, exactly the same style glide lock extension link, but the deep sea is a little bit different. We have the same safety folding Oyster, opens up as so, 45-degree angle, opens up as so, but you can see I can adjust it. I can't pull it forward or outwards, and that's because the glide lock works a little bit differently. On the top of the clasp, instead, it opens up to open up the riveted edges, and then it allows you to adjust as so. So that's just a minor thing. The other thing is that there's actually more addition to the clasp as well. You can see these sort of flat-ended links at the very end of the links, and that actually opens up the watch a little bit more. Once again, as I said, professional diver's watch allows the diver to fit the watch nice and comfortably on their wetsuit. All right. So now we're down to the movements, the final part of this video. The movements for the Submariner and Deep Sea, so Submariner first, and the Deep Sea. These run the same exact movements, which is the tried and tested movements for over 10 years. Rolex have used this sports style movement, which has the complications of just the date and the stopping and seconds hand, the functions, the hour, minute, and seconds hand. It's the 3135 movement, in-house made by Rolex. It is a perpetual mechanical self-winding movement with a power reserve of 48 hours, meaning you could put this watch out on a Friday evening, pick it back up on a Sunday afternoon, and it'll be keeping time just fine. But this is a movement that Rolex has, tested for a very, very, very long time. So that's the standard movements on these watches. But for the newly updated Sea Dweller, they've actually updated from that 3135 movement that both of these watches are running. So this is now the 3235 movement. So what's special about the 3235 movement? Well, actually what's special about it is that they've increased the power reserve, and it added two more additions to the movement to have it nice and protected. So it is still a perpetual mechanical self-winding movement. Like I said, it's a 3235 movement. Same complication of the date and stopping the seconds hand with the functions of the hour, minute, and seconds hand. But they've added what's called the chronology Escapement, which is a skeletonized escapement wheel made out of a nickel phosphorus. So the escapement reduces inertia because of the skeletonization, and it also has additional resistance against magnetism that pairs along with the Parachrome Blue hairspring to have additional magnetic resistance. They've also updated the shock absorbers. It's not using the industry standard KIF shock absorbers, and then instead uses their own in-house made shock absorber. So Rolex made shock absorbers called the Paraflex shock absorption system, which Rolex claims absorbs 50% more shocks than normal. And the power reserve, as I mentioned, is now updated from that 48 hours on the Submariner and the Deepsea that you just saw. It's a 70-hour power reserve. So you can actually put this watch on a Friday evening, pick it back up on a Monday afternoon, and it'll be keeping time just fine. All right, so that's the difference between those three different watches. If you're interested in checking them out, we do have standalone video reviews for each one. Actually, I'll just go ahead and show you each watch on my wrist very quickly here. So once again, locate that safety folding Oyster, open it up as so, and there we are. So there's the Submariner on the wrist. As you can see, just very standard, but still that standard is just very gorgeous. You can see the height of the watch, not too high, will fit under suit cuffs, dress cuffs very nicely. Okay, let me go ahead and swap this out for the seat roller now. So seat roller 43. Once again, just going over the main points. So safety folding Oyster lock. Closes up nicely. That main point being that the seat roller now has the updated Cyclops lens for easier viewing of that date. The 50th anniversary red named logo, the seat roller, to throw back to the vintage. Once again, the thickness being a 15.22 was probably won't fit under suit cuffs very well, but still stands out very nicely. Doesn't feel too heavy on the wrist. Overall nice bounce throughout because of it being a 43 millimeter. And go ahead and swap off to the Deepsea now. So like I said, for the Deepsea, I understand I do have the James Cameron version, which is this gradient from the blue to the black in memory of going down to that Mariana Trench. But you can also get it in just the standard sports style, which is the sort of like the Submariner dial, nice just black throughout. So you can see, absolutely gorgeous style dial. Very, very thick watch, so you definitely feel the weight on your wrist. Might cause a little bit of wrist fatigue later in the day, but I mean, if you have a nice large wrist, thick wrist, then this should be no problem. You can see, nice, bold, stands out. Definitely won't fit on your suit cuffs or dress cuffs. Okay, and once again, no Cyclops lens on this sapphire crystal, mainly because the sapphire crystal is already thick enough. It's a 5mm crystal, and it already magnifies, kind of does a little sort of magnification itself already. Okay. All right, so if you're interested in this model or any other models for the lowest possible price, check out our website at JazTime.com, where the lowest price is guaranteed, and we offer a 1-year warranty. If you liked the video, please like, comment, subscribe below. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you guys soon.
If you want to find out more about the watch you just saw in the video, you can just click below on Show More to see the full description. Then you can check the link next to Model as seen in video, click on it, and you will get to the proper page where you can see all the details. If you're watching on a mobile phone, you have to click on the arrow down on the right hand side below the video to see the full description. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. If you would like to share this video with your friends, you can use the share button below and share it on any platform you like. If you have questions, constructive feedback, want to tell us about some mistakes or misspeaks, just write a comment below. If you want to see more videos like this, you should subscribe to our channel and visit our channel page where you can find all the videos. And if you're interested in a specific watch brand, you can check out our playlists. If you want to check the price for a watch or want to buy one, remember at JazTime.com you always get a steep discount, so you should check the prices with us. If you want to know the price for a specific watch, just go to Google, type in JazTime, plus the brand, model, and the details you're interested in, and Google will find the right page for you. Thank you for watching.